Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Anytime, anywhere. NCDA, just so we care. 1-888-639-5433. Call the line. Come talk to me.
The temperature, brought to you by the National Council on Drug Abuse, is
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, speculation is mounting across the Caribbean as a U.S. indictment of Maduro accuses regional leaders of facilitating cocaine trade from Venezuela.
Lawyers Christian Fellowship raises concern as 11 Jamaicans are killed by the security forces in the first 5 days of the new year.
3 men in Manchester are the latest casualties.
JTA wants better disaster preparedness in schools.
Transport Minister again calls for caution on the nation's roads.
In news from the rest of the world, Antigua and Dominica signed deal with United States to accept refugees.
A defiant Nicolas Maduro declares himself the president of Venezuela as he protested his capture in court today.
In sports, Portmore United and Tivoli Gardens locked at 1-1 in JPL Showdown in West Kingston.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty to all 4 U.S. drug trafficking charges against him. We'll get reactions from senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Professor Richard Parker, and Venezuelan-born human rights activist Jensenia Gonzalez.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your reaction to the arrest of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, the Lawyers Christian Fellowship is expressing concern about the number of fatal shootings by members of the security forces since the start of the year. We'll have all these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90FM, RevaNews.ai, and on the Reva News app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, Monday, January 5, it's a new year, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Speculation is mounting in Jamaica and across the wider Caribbean after a U.S. federal indictment against ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro appears to implicate Caribbean politicians in drug running and dealing in cocaine. The 25-page indictment was unsealed in the Southern District of New York over the weekend. It alleges that cocaine traffickers bribed politicians along the Caribbean route to protect drug shipments moving north toward the United States. On January 3, U.S. forces conducted a large-scale strike on Venezuelan military facilities, resulting in Maduro's capture and transport to the United States to face charges. These include narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy. Shalois Michael reports.
The indictment paints a picture of a transnational corruption reaching beyond Venezuela's borders. It raises uncomfortable questions for Caribbean governance and regional security. The indictment alleges that cocaine traffickers operating from Venezuela paid Caribbean politicians to secure protection from arrest and allow the flow of cocaine to the United States. According to prosecutors, this network helped bolster corruption and political power for officials who aided traffickers. While the document does not publicly name any Caribbean-specific politician, the suggestion that elected regional leaders may have been compromised could have serious implications for regional reputations. Jamaicans and wider Caribbean observers have expressed both shock and concern at the unfolding events. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, raised eyebrows by reposting the damning allegations from the U.S. indictment to her social media pages. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar has publicly supported the United States' plan to deal with what it termed the illegal drugs trade. Persad-Bissessar has also criticized CARICOM's position that the Caribbean is a zone of peace. Neither the governing Jamaica Labour Party or the opposition People's National Party have yet to issue a statement on the matter. When our news centre contacted both parties, they declined to speak on the record on the matter. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Retired Provost at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York, Professor Basil Wilson, is advising the Jamaican government to take a delicate approach in its stance on the U.S. military action in Venezuela. Professor Wilson was reacting to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over the weekend. He was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online on Monday. Mahir Stewart has that story.
U.S. military strikes resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia on Saturday. At least 40 people were killed in the operation. In a press conference later that day, Trump said the U.S. would run Venezuela. The Jamaican government has so far not directly commented on the developments in the South American country. Professor Wilson thinks that's a wise decision. He's urging caution.
I would say that you need the most delicate, the most diplomatic, and the most astute kind of way to deal with Donald Trump. It has become very difficult. I mean, one of the things that we're hoping is that in 2026 there's going to be midterm elections. If the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, you might get a different kind of balance of power within the United States, where it might be much easier establishing a dialogue.
He says America's current posture indicates it intends to exert dominance in the region.
The Trump administration put out a new doctrine about their national security interests, and one of the things that they emphasize in that new portfolio is that the Western Hemisphere is in fact the backyard of the United States of America, and they're going to insist that whatever happens in this Western Hemisphere, they will be the dominant power, and in fact the other countries will not be allowed to do so. And so what occurred recently with the kidnapping of Maduro is a manifestation of that new national security policy.
The Caribbean community, CARICOM, says it wants peaceful dialogue through diplomatic channels to ensure stability and prosperity for Venezuelans. Professor Wilson says infighting within the Caribbean has weakened what was once a strong regional voice in dealing with Washington.
Well, I think you have to deal with it. I mean, they are a superpower. Our economy depends heavily on American tourism. So we have to be quite astute. We have to be quite brave in terms of articulating what is in the best interest of Jamaica. But I think one of the things that we used to do was that CARICOM really supported a sort of organized force, a coalition that could articulate its interests and had much more clout in Washington if it were a united entity. That sort of split within CARICOM has weakened the voices of Caribbean countries.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, political economist Professor John Rapley, Professor John Rapley is raising doubts that the Trump administration is seeking to effect wholesale regime change in Venezuela. Rapley was reacting to Trump's seeming dismissal of Venezuela's opposition leader Mario Corina Machado while discussing the way forward for the South American nation following the ouster of Nicolas Maduro. Trump claimed at a press conference on Saturday that Machado did not have the support or respect of her country. Professor Rapley says Trump appears more interested in compliant Venezuelan leaders.
I think what it shows is that Trump doesn't want regime change. He wants a compliant, he basically wants a satrap in Caracas who will do his bidding. The problem with trying to put Machado in power is that she has her domestic support base, and she would not, her first priority would be to restore the oil industry to the benefit of Venezuelans, not to the benefit of the U.S. Trump wants it to be to the benefit of the U.S., and so he just needs a puppet, and he's going to find it very difficult to simply have a puppet without taking the necessary steps to actually bolster that with a major military force. And if he does that, he's going to encounter Colin Powell's famous pottery barn rule, that if you break it, you own it.
Yes.
Professor John Rapley there, political economist. He was speaking with Cliff Hughes on Monday.
In other news now, the Lawyers Christian Fellowship LCF is expressing grave concern about the number of fatal shootings by members of the security forces since the start of the year. It says the numbers so far in 2026 continues a disturbing pattern of such killings over the last 12 months. Khaleesi Wright reports.
In the first 5 days of the new year, 11 Jamaicans have been killed by the security forces. That's 8 more than the 3 killed in the corresponding period last year. That's already a 266% increase in less than a week. It was a similar story in 2025. Over those 12 months, 311 Jamaicans were killed in confrontations with the security forces. Of that number, 280 of those deaths were between January 1 and November 30. An additional 31 fatalities were recorded in December. Eileen Coley-Nicholson heads the Lawyers Christian Fellowship. She says it's concerning that eyewitness reports are often at odds with official accounts.
While we acknowledge and commend the reported reduction in murders and major crimes during 2025, this achievement is severely undermined by the significant increase in fatal encounters involving the security forces. Even more troubling is the indication that this pattern has continued into the new year, with multiple deaths reported on New Year's Day alone, including during joint police military operations. Of particular concern are reports emerging from communities where eyewitness accounts appear to contradict official statements.
In a release on Monday, the LCF stressed that the unjust taking of life, whether by criminal elements or by agents of the state acting outside the bounds of the law, is a grave moral wrong. It is therefore calling for several actions to be taken.
The LCF is calling for certain things, and we're condemning all extrajudicial killings and unlawful use of force by state agents. We're calling for prompt, independent, and transparent investigations into all fatal shootings. We support the mandatory use of body-worn cameras in all security operations. We're urging the strengthening of accountability, training, and oversight. We're calling on the church and civil society to pray and to act for justice and peace.
Indicom reported that in the first 9 months of 2025, nearly 70 members of the security forces were brought before the courts following its investigations. But in the majority of cases investigated, no charges have been laid against the security forces. Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
And 3 men were fatally shot by the police in St. Tullys near Porus, Manchester on Monday. Commanding officer for the Manchester Police, Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the confrontation happened shortly after midday.
The police, acting on information, came to this premises behind me to execute a search warrant. On the approach of the police, a group of men were seen exiting the building with firearms in hand. The police accosted the men who engaged them in a shootout. The police advanced inside the building where they were again engaged by other men inside the premises. The police again returned the fire. At the end of the shooting, 3 men were found suffering from what appeared to be gunshot injuries. All 3 men were immediately taken to the Maypen Hospital, where unfortunately they were pronounced dead.
Superintendent Duncan says the Independent Commissioner of Investigations, Indicom, is now probing the incident.
2 firearms, a shotgun and a .38 revolver recovered from the scene. Indicom and other stakeholders have been informed and the investigations have started.
Superintendent Kerry Duncan there, he heads the Manchester Police. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is
24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 25 out west in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, is urging the government to take a more proactive approach to disaster preparedness in the education sector. The call comes amid continued weather-related disruptions of the education sector. JTA President Mark Malava made the plea during his back-to-school message on Sunday.
With another hurricane season already on the horizon, the issue of how we lead in moments of crisis can no longer be postponed. There are evident gaps in crisis leadership preparedness within the education system, and these must be addressed in a deliberate and structured manner. Accordingly, the Jamaica Teachers Association is calling on the government to commence meaningful dialogue and planning around crisis leadership and disaster preparedness in education, even as recovery efforts continue.
Just under 400 schools were impacted by Hurricane Beryl in 2024. The figure rose to nearly 700 in October last year following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Mr. Malava says the Category 5 system not only caused learning loss but impacted the well-being of students and teachers. As such, the JTA president is calling for a more permanent implementation of psychosocial support in schools.
The emotional toll of recent crises has been significant, and for many, recovery is still unfolding. The Jamaica Teachers Association will therefore continue and strengthen its psychosocial support initiatives in the new year. At the same time, the JTA insists that psychosocial support provided by the Ministry of Education must not be treated as a temporary or crisis-only intervention. It must be ongoing and deliberately woven into the fabric of national recovery and school operations.
Mark Malava, president of the JTA.
To transport now, the Portfolio Minister Darrell Vaz is again calling on road users to exercise caution when traversing the nation's roadways. This follows Sunday's fiery motor vehicle crash on the Cooper Spend Main Road in the vicinity of the Royalton Hideaway Resort in Trelawney. The crash claimed the lives of 2 individuals. According to Minister Vaz, since the start of 2026, 3 persons have lost their lives in 2 collisions. He says a road safety campaign is to be launched in the first quarter of this year to help curtail the problem.
Very sad and disappointing that we're starting the new year as we ended the old year in terms of road fatalities. The hotspots are well known, and we continue to have accidents in the same areas as people are not taking caution. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to start and launch the public education campaign, National Road Safety Campaign, in the first quarter of this year, and I'm hoping and praying that that will help.
Darrell Vaz, the Transport Minister. He says the road safety call is not just about one driver or one vehicle, but rather it's a wake-up call to every operator, every motorist, and every pedestrian who uses the roads daily. In 2025, a total of 374 persons were killed in 325 fatal collisions across the island.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes is renewing his call for the government to grant the judiciary direct oversight of its own expenditure. His appeal comes amid what he described as the silence from authorities regarding the reconstruction of several court facilities damaged by the passage of Hurricane Melissa.
There is a problem. And what is the problem? The executive has not been able to respond in the time necessary for us. Because if you notice in all the discussions that have been going on about rebuilding better, bigger and better and more resilient and so on, not one word has been said about the courthouse in Black River, the courthouse in St. Elizabeth, and other courts, as if to say it is not a matter of great importance.
According to the Chief Justice, a courtroom in St. Elizabeth will have to be rebuilt. In Westmoreland, damage to the roof of a courtroom has rendered the facility unusable. As a result, cases from Westmoreland have been transferred to neighboring parishes. Chief Justice Sykes says several other courts are in need of repairs or relocation. He says the government is dragging its feet on a matter.
The time has now come for us to be given the greater control over the capital budget, and this is really in keeping with what I was told some time ago. I was invited to some meetings a couple of years ago. What we were told was that they are going to change the way in which the budgets are prepared. What did that change entail? The entities involved in service delivery would create their own budget, and they have to produce the procurement plan, the operational plan, the budget, and so it will go up into the ministry. So how do we have a situation in which the ministry still controls that significant aspect of our budget?
That's Brian Sykes, Chief Justice. He was speaking at the swearing-in ceremony for the Hillary term of the judicial year on Monday. 6 judges were sworn in.
Meanwhile, the Chief Justice says several courts will soon be accorded International Organization of Standardization, ISO certification.
This year, in roughly 12 weeks' time, the Court of Appeal of Jamaica, the Gun Court, High Court Division of the Gun Court in Kingston, the St. Thomas Parish Court, and the Court Administration Division should be ISO certified. And that is a very significant development. And then to make the point, it doesn't say that we are perfect, but what it is saying is that we are committed to establishing and maintaining a minimum standard of service to our citizens.
Brian Sykes, the Chief Justice. The certification refers to the independent assurance that the court's administrative systems and processes meet the internationally recognized benchmarks set by the ISO.
The world in a minute.
Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica have signed third country arrangements with the United States to accept certain refugees who cannot be returned to their home countries. Both announcements come in the wake of a U.S. proclamation issued in December, which expanded restrictions on the entry of certain foreign nationals. The two countries have stressed that all arrivals will undergo strict intelligence vetting. In Antigua, Prime Minister Gaston Brown confirmed the agreement, noting that the U.S. will provide full intelligence support. In Dominica, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt confirmed a similar agreement, noting that the nation has engaged in ongoing dialogue with the U.S. on matters of mutual interest.
In international news, a defiant Nicolas Maduro declared himself the president of his country as he protested his capture in court on Monday. Maduro pleaded not guilty to the federal drug trafficking charges the Trump administration used to justify removing him from power in Venezuela. Translated by a courtroom reporter, Maduro told the court he was captured before being cut off by the judge. Asked later for his plea to the charges, he stated, quote, "I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man, the president of my country." Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty. The courtroom appearance kicks off the U.S. government's most consequential prosecution in decades of a foreign head of state. A 25-page indictment accuses Maduro and others of working with drug cartels to facilitate the shipment of thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States. They could face life in prison if convicted. Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Speculation mounting across the region as a U.S. indictment of Maduro accuses regional leaders of facilitating a cocaine trade from Venezuela.
Lawyers Christian Fellowship raises concern as 11 Jamaicans are killed by the security forces in the first 5 days of the new year.
3 men in Manchester are the latest casualties.
JTA wants better disaster preparedness in schools.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at rivernews.ai and on the River News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next. The headlines at 6.
opinion.
Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican.
Different people.
It's not a matter of a GLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former champions Portmore United and Tivoli Gardens, they played out a 2-all draw a short while ago in their Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League encounter at the Edward Seaga Sports Complex. Portmore United, with the result, they solidified third place in the standings, 3 points off the leaders Montego Bay United and 2 behind second place Racing United. Portmore United, they've got 26 points. Tivoli are now in a three-way battle for 7th in the standings with Waterhouse and Malines United. They're all in 16 points, but Tivoli, they're behind the two with on goal difference. The round will climax later on Monday, and it will feature a massive showdown at the Stadium East Complex, and it features the defending champions Cavalier against many-time champions Arnett Gardens. Still with football, President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, says the federation is putting out all the stops to give the national senior men's football team the best opportunity possible to qualify for the FIFA World Cup finals next year. The global showpiece will be co-hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and it will run from June 11 to July 19 and will feature an expanded field of over 48 teams. After failing to secure automatic qualification, the Reggae Boys will now seek a place through the Interconfederation playoff in Monterrey in Mexico later this year, in March to be exact. Jamaica is set to face New Caledonia on March 26th. The winner of that game will go on to take on the Democratic Republic of Congo 4 days later, and the winner of that match will qualify for the World Cup finals. And Ricketts told Nationwide Sports that the federation is fully backing the team's preparation, noting that the interim head coach Rudolph Speed has been doing some scouting, looking closely at the opponent. First of all, New Caledonia, and of course they've been looking at the Democratic Republic of Congo team, which is currently participating at the AFCON in Morocco.
Rudolph Speed would have gone to Morocco, I think it was, to look at DR Congo, and he would have come back having done some assessment of that team. So I just think we are in football at the right time, when there is some level of transparency, some level of equity and balance. So we are enjoying the relationship with our parent organization.
And of course, there's now more reason than ever for the Jamaica Football Federation to want to qualify for the World Cup. You know why? FIFA last week, they approved the record-breaking financial distribution package for teams playing at the World Cup. A total of $727 million US, of course, will be shared amongst the participating teams, a 50% increase over the previous tournament in Qatar in 2022. Of that figure, $655 million will be distributed as prize monies to the 48 qualifying countries. The eventual champions will take home $50 million. The runners-up will take home $33 million. And the third place team, $29 million. Fourth place will take home $27 million. And the teams finishing 58th will each take home $19 million. Countries placing 9th to 16th will receive $15 million US, 17th to 32nd, $11 million, and the teams finishing 33rd to 48th will earn $9 million. In addition, each of the 48 nations will receive $1.5 million to assist with their preparation for the global showpiece next year. Egypt, they remain on course for an 8th title after beating Benin by 3-1 in extra time in Adiguer on Monday to advance to the quarterfinals of the African Cup of Nations in Morocco. The game ended 1-1, but the Pharaohs booked their passage to the last 8 with goals from Yasser Ibrahim and their captain, the outstanding Mohamed Salah, who crafted a beautiful individual effort to send them through to the quarterfinals.
And he gets it back. Anybody there? It's followed up. There's a shot. Look at it. Atia gets the goal. It's a stunner. Who gets the ball out to that man? Joshua. Oh, it's gone in. It came from the right. Joshua. Unbelievable. The scenes here in Agadir. Now Mo Salah. The goalkeeper's out. Mo Salah. Mo Salah. Mo Salah. Mo Salah gets his 10th AFCON goal. The third Egyptian to score 10 goals for Egypt in an African Cup of Nations.
Superb individual effort there from the Liverpool starman Mohamed Salah. And Nigeria's Super Eagles, they're also through to the quarterfinals. Today they were commanding. They defeated Mozambique by 4-0.
Nigeria there look to challenge, and look what is his third. Nigeria so quick in transition, the delivery from out wide, exquisite, the finish superb, and look what as his 5th goal involvement for Nigeria. The delivery delightful. Lacko calls for it forward, back post Osimhen, it's 2. Nigeria strike again, in and out, looks for the pass, he'll recover it as well. Back post, teed up and finished. Wide, Michael Radins, tight angle, drills it in.
Yeah, so the African Cup of Nations pretty much at a boiling point now in Morocco. It's anybody's call from here. They're all huge, huge teams in the last 8. And that will do it for sport. We're going to be back, though, with more at 6:05 with our Mage Sportscast.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
This holiday season, give yourself the gift that keeps on giving. Speed Queen washers and dryers from Singer. Speed Queen appliances are built to last, providing you with reliable performance and efficient cleaning season after season. And for a limited time only, receive free laundry basket and Woolite detergent with your Speed Queen purchase from Singer. This Christmas, get 6 months to pay the cash price, 12 months no interest, and up to 24 months credit. Visit Singer today and get the ultimate laundry solution. Merry Christmas from Singer.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's Talk Justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Good afternoon, Cliff. Good afternoon to the listeners. We hope we find you well on this, the 5th day of January 2026, a new year. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year, boss.
Same to you, sir.
Good.
Good. Well, in our cover story of today, the situation regarding Venezuela and the capture of the deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores. A political economist, John Rapley, says unless President Donald Trump plans to make a long-term commitment of American money and personnel, very little may come of his attempt to benefit from Venezuelan oil. Rapley's assessment follows, of course, the capture of Maduro last Saturday morning.
It's a very odd turn of events. I'm not quite sure if there is any grand strategy behind it. I think it reflects very much Trump's approach, which is to go for big dramatic gesture, get the headline, and then hope that that is it. But the problem is that unless he's prepared to make a very long-term and expensive commitment in both American money and lives, very little will come of this as far as securing Venezuela's oil supply, which he says is the stated intention.
Professor John Rapley, their political economist, he was speaking on Cliff Hughes Online today. Now, listeners, you know well, U.S. military strikes resulted in the capture of the Venezuelan president and his wife on Saturday. At least 40 people were killed in the operation. In a press conference on Saturday, Trump said that the U.S. would run Venezuela.
He also said the nation, which holds the world's largest reserves of oil, had stolen oil from the U.S., and that would now be returned to the U.S. According to Trump, oil companies are eager to invest in the rebuilding of Venezuela's oil infrastructure. The U.S. president also indicated that Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, would face similar consequences as Maduro, or worst, if she fails to cooperate with the policy push of the Trump administration.
Now, Rodriguez, who is the former vice president, was formally sworn in on Monday by her brother, Jorge, who is the head of the National Assembly, that's a legislature in Venezuela. In the meantime, in court in New York, a defiant Maduro pleaded not guilty to the federal drug trafficking charges that the Trump administration used to justify removing him under the dark of night from his country.
Translated by a court reporter, Maduro told the court this morning he was captured before being cut off by the judge. Asked later for his plea to the charges, he stated, quote, "I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man, the president of my country." Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty on Monday morning.
Now, a 25-page indictment unsealed in the Southern District of New York accuses Maduro and others of working with drug cartels to facilitate the shipment of thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States. They could face life in prison, in federal prison, if convicted.
Joining us to discuss further, we have a senior fellow at the Shorenstein Center at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Professor Richard Parker, and a Venezuelan-born human rights activist living in Trinidad and Tobago, Yesenia Gonzalez. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good. Good. And it's Yesenia Gonzalez. Let me begin with you, Yesenia Gonzalez.
Yesenia Gonzalez, yes.
Yes, Yesenia, the last 72 hours have come and gone very quickly. Development still moving rapidly. What's your sense of what has taken place and the implications for your country?
Well, I do not feel there is any implication for our country now that Maduro is out of power and that now he is before the court. You have to pay for all the horrible nightmare that Venezuela has been going through. He has destroyed a whole country, killed a lot of people, he and his regime. We have serious human rights abuses reaching a milestone in degradation in the rule of law after election, which is for the 27th of July 2024. A lot of reports, unlawful killing, disappearance, torture, or cruel or human and degrading treatment or punishment. Arrest of detention, unlawful recruitment of young children by Maduro supporters, group of armed conflict, and very dangerous, like the El Tren de Aragua and other groups. Maduro was like, the one who used to control the organized crime, and he had the passing through a lot of jobs, even to Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a lot of wrong things that he had done. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see Maduro as the most evil man in history. We have serious restrictions and on freedom or expression of media freedom as well. Trafficking person, I am responsible of trying to rescue almost about 100 victims that came to Trinidad as a victim of human trafficking. And a lot of was running away from Venezuela to come here for protection. And they got fooled by criminals by bringing them here, rape them. Some of them don't know where are they. And it's a lot. I went and get victims of human trafficking on the bush, half naked, bring it in my home, carry to the police. I have experiencing a lot of terrible experience in Venezuela as well in Trinidad, There is no credibility except for action when taken to punish offense in Venezuela.
Professor Parker, Yesenia lists a litany of abuses there, and she calls Maduro an evil man. And so my question is, why doesn't that justify Donald Trump's action on Saturday?
Well, that has to happen on the order. We have to actually...
I'm sorry, just hold on. Just hold on for a second, Yesenia. Let me just hear from Professor Parker on this, and I'll come back to you.
Sorry.
So there are several things going on simultaneously, and I don't feel that Donald Trump's chief focus is to confront evil in Caracas. I think that there are at least a couple of other layers that we need to consider, one of which is he has made clear that he wants the several 100,000 Venezuelans who were admitted to the United States under special relief because of the Maduro regime returned to Venezuela as part of his much more important to him focus on reducing the number of refugees and asylum seekers in the United States. So that's number one, is that I think that what we'll see very shortly is some sort of agreement that is announced between this government of Venezuela and the United States about, or by the tens of thousands of Venezuelans in the United States. I don't think that augurs well for the human rights situation in Venezuela. One can certainly outline the number of abuses under the Maduro regime, but I don't see how this new regime is going to be radically different, because on some level it's operating under the same pressures from the United States and has pretty much the same collection of political viewpoints that were regnant in the Maduro period. The second is the question of oil, and it's quite clear that Trump is very interested in rewarding large multinational oil companies who he sees as important supporters of a long-term vision for governing in either under him or under those who will follow him. Mm-hmm. So we have a second issue of oil. The Maduro administration had already made clear to Trump that they were willing to let Chevron increase the amount of oil that it was pumping. Secondly, that it was willing to allow ExxonMobil to come back into Venezuela. And third, that there would be an openness on the part of Venezuela to some sort of renegotiation of the terms under which American oil companies' assets in Venezuela were nationalized in the recent past. So I think that while I share this deep concern about the murderous implications of the Maduro regime, I would not for a moment try to present Donald Trump as a man on the white horse who has come to rescue Venezuela from its misery. That's not what this is about.
Yeah. We're up on a break. After the break, Prof, I want to go to the matter of what history teaches us about U.S. intervention, because Donald Trump's response to that question is he wasn't in power at the time. After the break.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton, weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Public opinion.
Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican.
Different people.
It's not a matter of a GLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
And the ousted Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are spending the evening in a federal detention center in New York City. We have with us senior fellow at the Shorenstein Center at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Professor Richard Parker, and Venezuelan-born human rights activist living in Trinidad and Tobago, Yesenia Gonzalez. Yesenia outlining a litany of abuses, welcoming the toppling of Maduro. Professor Parker urging caution that Donald Trump's motives are not pure.
I wanted to ask Yesenia, Ms. Gonzalez, tell me, President Trump on Saturday afternoon at Mar-a-Lago, are you hearing me, Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes, I do.
He was asked about the opposition leader Machado, suitability for president. And he dismissed that, saying she's not respected, she's not regarded in Venezuela. Is that so?
No, that is not true. We are very grateful to her because that is how we won the election, the majority, to bring democracy in Venezuela. In the 24, the year the 23rd of I think December, somewhere there. And we won the election by the majority, and she was responsible in proving that we won the election. And she has fight for us. She has fight for.
So then, how do you react to the Trump administration supporting the current Vice President Delcy Rodriguez as the person who they would want to see and who was today, sworn in as interim president of Venezuela? I gather we have lost Ms. Gonzalez?
Yeah, Yeah, and so I want to ask you, Professor Parker, considering that answer from Yesenia, that that Trump is wrong, that Machado does not enjoy the confidence of the Venezuelan people, will that not complicate his efforts then to, quote, run Venezuela?
It may or it may not. It may from her point of view, and it may from the point of view of millions of Venezuelans. But Trump has shown repeatedly that he's perfectly happy working with authoritarian regimes as long as the behavior of those authoritarian regimes lines up with his interests. So again, I mean, I would take the warning to Machado as also a signal to the vice president who's just been sworn in as president that he, Trump, and the Trump administration is willing to deal with the existing administration as long as certain criteria are met. And I think those criteria have to do with the return of several 100,000 Venezuelans from the United States to Venezuela. And secondly, a deal on oil that has several elements to it, but which essentially allows American oil companies to return in force and number to run the Venezuelan oil situation and to be paid for what they feel was an inadequate compensation for prior nationalization of their interests. And let me also say, and I think it's a third warning to Cuba, to Colombia, to Mexico, all of which he enumerated in his comments, which seem to be sailing past a lot of reporters. And what you want to do is think about the ways in which Trump is brilliant at managing the press and managing his opponents by keeping them off balance. So in other words, they've moved quickly to overthrow one regime in Venezuela. But what he has done then is to throw off balance the region with the threat that he might move in a similar fashion in Colombia, Cuba, or Mexico. And any one of those three is a volatile situation, and all three of which are deeply concerned about what it is that Trump may be up to. And you cannot underestimate the importance of what he sees as pushing so-called illegals or foreigners out of the United States as central to the domestic politics that will hold his base together. He's interested in that. He doesn't really care about the human rights situation in any country, including the United States.
Yeah. Jasenia, you're back with us?
Yes.
I was asking you your reaction to the position adopted by Trump administration to really work with the current Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, who was sworn in to act as President of Venezuela today. What's your reaction to that?
Well, we still recognize that Delcy Rodriguez, she is not, and she will not be the president. I do believe that she's just there for the time being until they remove all the regiment of cartel and criminal, and she's one of the most criminal ones. She has killed a lot of people. She has committed a lot of crime. And basically, I believe that President Donald Trump, are playing a role in the sense that he's trying to project themselves in Venezuela until they overthrow them as well. They can't say, she will have to call election before a month. In a month time, she has to call election. Remember the overthrow Venezuelan dictator Marcos Pérez Jiménez in January, I think that was the 23rd, 1958. There was the United States was also part of that whole riot and problem that was in Venezuela, and there was always interest in having a great relationship with Venezuela, and we always maintain a great relationship with America.
Professor Parker, regional leaders in the Caribbean community, CARICOM, are trying to find their footing. As you said, Trump has thrown the region off balance. World leaders scrambling at the United Nations Security Council today. Several leaders condemned the actions of the U.S. president. But here in the Caribbean, in Kingston, in Bridgetown, in Kingstown, what should Caribbean leaders be thinking about how they should react to what they're seeing and, frankly, the threat to their own sovereignty, as America says, as I saw the president post today, that this is, quote, our hemisphere?
Well, I mean, I think what the nations of the Caribbean and Latin America need to be doing is what they have been invited to do now for 100 years. The United States has been intervening in the Caribbean and Latin America for 2 centuries. So I don't think there can be any possible leader of any country in the region or population that doesn't recognize this extraordinary pattern in which the United States is more than willing, under the guise of the Monroe Doctrine or under the alleged threat of growing communism, to intervene in these nations. I don't, at this point, have a particular formula to offer that is practical in terms of making a change. All I can do is sadly observe the pattern. And I think that what one has to do is hope for regime change in the United States as quickly as possible, which means, 2028, electing someone who is not in the Trump mold or in the Trump political world as the next president of the United States. There are certainly periods in which the United States has not intervened. There was a long period under Franklin Roosevelt in which there was a discussion of a good neighbor policy. It was never quite as good as it was billed to be, but certainly what you want is a return on the part of the Republic, of the American Republic, to a more passive position in terms of intervention. As you know, I mean, within the last year, I mean, he has threatened to punish Brazil for trying his friend who attempted to overthrow an election, just as Donald Trump did. You have seen him offer covert support throughout Latin America to push center and center-left regimes out of power, all of which have been substituted for by regimes that are much more friendly toward a conservative American business position. So, I don't know what to say. I want to say something heroic and noble, and encourage the people of Central America to rise up against totalitarianism. I think that probably is just smoke and mirrors at this point. I think we need a much clearer understanding of why a somewhat more progressive regime in Washington holds out the possibility of less frequent intervention. But I cannot imagine the United States in its current political configuration giving up on what it sees as its right to intervene.
And so in light of that, the Trinidadian Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, she has broken with CARICOM now twice on these matters, and she has aligned herself very firmly with the Trump administration. Can Caribbean leaders consider the government in Washington a friend at this time?
I don't think they should be thought of as a friend. I think that they should be thought of as a dangerous enemy that can be handled in some sense, in a way that makes them less dangerous to countries of the region. But I don't think thinking of them as friends is going to have much of a payoff. I mean, Trump's idea of friendship is, are they working for me, not are we working together?
All right. That's all the time we have for. But Yesenia Gonzalez, thanks much. Professor Parker, thank you very much for sharing with us.
Appreciate
it. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. God bless.
Good luck, Eugenia. I mean, I wish I could say that I can see something hopeful arising out of all of this for Venezuela and the suffering people of that country. But at this point, I do not. And that's, I think, something that's very tragic.
Yeah.
Well, President Donald Trump said the U.S. will run Venezuela until things settle in Venezuela. He's going to help to build Venezuela.
I think that whole line about running Venezuela is just another attempt by Trump to divert attention from what they're really up to. So.
And remember, we all want all the politicians, with all respect, are very sympathetic in relation to negative to the American statement that they make and remove Maduro. You have to remember also that the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, children just dying lack of medication. After this man has gained so much of power, it's so sad to see that he could have helped so many people that he betrayed and making it stop.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, it's about food on the table, it's about medication, it's about helping these people. And we put in the hope in America and in Donald Trump to rebuild Venezuela and get rid of all those criminals.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And therein, I think, Cliff,
thank you.
Lies the danger. You heard what she said, putting her hope in America and Donald Trump. If he doesn't get this right, his Secretary of State and his Defense Secretary, the humanitarian crisis that would unfold in that country will be significant. And again, his hubris in ignoring and denying history. There is a pattern. Professor Parker is right. America does not have a good track record of running anything when it deposes leaders.
Yeah. So we're going to leave it for the cover story. The headlines are next.
Cover story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6:01.
It's a season to share, more to give. Pizza Hut, amazing 4+.
Feeding good times. The temperature by Pizza Hut is...
It's 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston City and Montego Bay.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Retired Provost at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York, Professor Basil Wilson, is advising the Jamaican government to take a delicate approach in its stance on the U.S. military action in Venezuela. Professor Wilson was reacting to the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over the weekend.
I would say that you need the most delicate, the most diplomatic, and the most astute kind of way to deal with Donald Trump. It has become very difficult. I mean, one of the things that we're hoping is that in 2026 there's going to be midterm elections. If the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, you might get a different kind of balance of power within the United States, where it might be much easier establishing a dialogue.
He says America's current posture indicates its intent to exert dominance in the region.
The Trump administration put out a new doctrine about their national security interests, and one of the things that they emphasize in that new portfolio is that the Western Hemisphere is in fact the backyard of the United States of America, and they're going to insist that whatever happens in this Western Hemisphere, they will be the dominant power. And in fact, the other countries will not be allowed to do so. And so what occurred recently with the kidnapping of Maduro is a manifestation of that new national security policy.
Professor Basil Wilson, retired provost at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. 3 men were killed by the police in St. Toulouse near Porus, Manchester on Monday. Commanding officer for the Manchester Police, Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says the confrontation happened shortly after midday.
The police, acting on information, came to this premises behind me to execute a search warrant. On the approach of the police, a group of men were seen exiting the building with firearms in hand. The police accosted the men who engaged them in a shootout. The police advanced inside the building where they were again engaged by other men inside the premises. The police again returned the fire. At the end of the shooting, 3 men were found suffering from what appeared to be gunshot injuries. All 3 men were immediately taken to the Maypen Hospital, where unfortunately they were pronounced dead.
Superintendent Duncan says the Independent Commission of Investigations is now probing the incident.
2 firearms, a shotgun and a .38 revolver recovered from the scene. Indicom and other stakeholders have been informed and the investigations have started.
Superintendent Kerry Duncan, head of the Manchester Police. The Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, is urging the government to take a more proactive approach to disaster preparedness in the education sector. The call comes amid continued weather-related disruptions. JTA President Mark Malava made the plea during his back-to-school message on Sunday.
With another hurricane season already on the horizon, the issue of how we lead in moments of crisis can no longer be postponed. There are evident gaps in crisis leadership preparedness within the education system, and these must be addressed in a deliberate and structured manner. Accordingly, the Jamaica Teachers Association is calling on the government to commence meaningful dialogue and planning around crisis leadership and disaster preparedness in education, even as recovery efforts continue.
Just under 400 schools were impacted by Hurricane Beryl in 2024. The figure rose to nearly 700 in October last year, following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Mr. Malava says the Category 5 system not only caused the learning loss, but impacted the well-being of students and teachers. As such, the JTA president is calling for more permanent implementation of psychosocial support in schools.
The emotional toll of recent crises has been significant, and for many, recovery is still unfolding. The Jamaica Teachers Association will therefore continue and strengthen its psychosocial support initiatives in the new year. At the same time, the JTA insists that psychosocial support provided by the Ministry of Education must not be treated as a temporary or crisis-only intervention. It must be ongoing and deliberately woven into the fabric of national recovery and school operations.
Mark Malava, president of the JTA. Chief Justice Brian Sykes is renewing his call for the government to grant the judiciary direct oversight of its own expenditure. His appeal comes amid what he described as the silence from authorities regarding the reconstruction of several court facilities damaged by Hurricane Melissa.
There is a problem. And what is the problem? The executive has not been able to respond in the time necessary for us. Because if you notice in all the discussions that have been going on about rebuilding better, bigger and better and more resilient and so on, not one word has been said about the courthouse in Black River, the courthouse in St. Elizabeth, and other courts, as if to say it is not a matter of great importance.
According to the Chief Justice, a courtroom in St. Elizabeth will have to be rebuilt. In Westmoreland, damage to the roof of a courtroom has rendered the facility unusable. As a result, cases from Westmoreland have been transferred to neighboring parishes. Chief Justice Sykes says several other courts are in need of repairs or relocation. He says the government is dragging its feet on the matter.
The time has now come for us to be given the greater control over the capital budget. And this is really in keeping with what I was told some time ago. I was invited to some meetings a couple of years ago. What we were told was that they are going to change the way in which the budgets are prepared. What did that change entail? The entities involved in service delivery would create their own budget and they have to produce the procurement plan, the operational plan, the budget, and so it will go up into the ministry. So how do we have a situation in which the ministry still controls that significant aspect of our budget?
Brian Sykes, Chief Justice. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
We need a bigger office where we can see more clients. Sounds like ambition is calling and Access Financial Services is answering. The funds are waiting.
Boss, I just can't hold on one truck, you know.
I know. We need another truck. Sounds like you have a plan and Access Financial Services can help. Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services designed for women entrepreneurs to unlock the capital you need to grow and take your business beyond limits with quick approval, flexible repayment, and low interest rates. Your success is on the horizon.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alex Swaby. We kick things off with some football as former champions Portmore United and Tivoli Gardens played out a 2-2 draw on Monday in their never Jamaica Premier League clash at the Edward Shiaga Complex. Portmore, with the result, solidified their third in the standings with 26 points, 3 off leaders Mobay United and 2 behind second place Racing United. Tivoli are now in a 3-way tie for 7th with Waterhouse and Mullinge United all on 16 points, but Tivoli are 9th on goal difference. The round will climax on Monday with champions Cavalier hosting Arnett Gardens in the 7:30 kickoff at Stadium East. And President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts, says the Federation is pulling out all the stops to give the national senior men's team the best possible chance of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The global showpiece will be jointly hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the United States from June 11 to July 19 and will feature an expanded field of 48 teams. After failing to secure automatic qualification, the Reggae Boys will now seek a place through the Interconfederation playoffs. Jamaica is set to face New Caledonia on March 26 in Mexico, with the winner taking on the Democratic Republic of Congo for a coveted World Cup berth. Ricketts told Nationwide Sports that the Federation is fully backing the team's preparations, noting that interim head coach Rudolph Speed has been closely studying Jamaica's opponents as part of the build-up.
Rudolph Speed would have gone to Morocco, I think it was, to look at DR Congo, and he would have come back having done some assessment of that team. So I just think we are in football at the right time when there is some level of transparency, some level of equity and balance. So we are enjoying the relationship with our parent organization.
Meanwhile, FIFA last week approved a record-breaking financial distribution package for the 2026 World Cup. A total of $727 million will be shared among participating teams, a 50% increase over the previous tournament. Of that figure, $655 million will be distributed as prize money to the 48 qualified teams. The eventual champions will earn $50 million, while the runner-up will take home $33 million. Third place will receive $29 million, fourth place $27 million, and the teams finishing 5th to 8th will earn $19 million each. Countries placing 9th to 16th will receive $15 million, 17th to 32nd $11 million, and the teams finishing 33rd to 48th will earn $9 million. In addition, each of the 48 nations will receive $1.5 million to assist with preparation, guaranteeing every participating federation at least $10.5 million. Ricketts says qualification would provide a major financial windfall for Jamaica's football.
It is historic, and I would think that this is a major injection for those who would have qualified. And again, I must express my dissatisfaction. I mean, that kind of a shot in the arm, we would really do well with that kind of an injection. But we still are working hard.
Michael Ricketts. Now, Jamaican international Ravel Morrison is of the view that had the JFF kept Paul Hall or Theodore Whitmore as head coach of the national team, the country would have secured automatic qualification to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The former Manchester United Academy standout was a part of the failed 2022 campaign under both Hall and Whitmore. Morrison also claimed that former coach Steve McLaren had difficulty controlling some players.
If we would have stuck with, do you know Paul Hall?
Yes.
Or even,
Winger.
if we would have had one of them two, in my opinion, we'd have qualified. Because the last manager we had someone from Iceland. Hell, the vibe makes it up though, but it's a shambles though. He's done a lot for the media, yeah. Different when you're around the players. Do you know what I mean? Obviously he's a good guy and that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone got on with him,
but
obviously, if you know, you can't really control people from Jamaica.
The now 32-year-old, who now plies his trade for Arabian Falcons in the UAE second division, is yet to feature in the campaign, which missed out on automatic qualification, and he questioned his omission from a number of the camps.
That's what Steve said to me last night. He wanted me to play in a different league. Fair to him, but you have people that are in the second league, like Saudi or Qatar. So it's all the same. Yeah, if I could go back in time, I'd have listened a lot more. I'd have changed a lot of things like discipline, everything like that.
Ravel Morrison. Now, Egypt remain on course for an 8th title after beating Benin 3-1 in extra time on Monday to advance to the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. The game ended 1-1, but the Pharaohs booked their passage to the last 8 with goals from Yasser Ibrahim and captain Mo Salah, who crafted a superb individual effort.
And he gets it back. Anybody there? It's followed up. There's a shot. Look at it. Atia gets the goal. It's a stunner. Who gets the ball out to that man? Dawson. Oh, it's gone in. It came from the right. Dawson. Unbelievable. The scenes here in Agadir. Now Mo Salah. The goalkeeper's out. Mo Salah. Mo Salah. Mo Salah. Mo Salah gets his 10th AFCON goal. The third Egyptian to score 10 goals for Egypt in an African Cup of Nations.
Now, Nigeria's Super Eagles are also through to the quarterfinals thanks to a commanding 4-0 win over Mozambique in Fes.
Nigeria there look to challenge, and look what is his third. Nigeria so quick in transition, the delivery from out wide, exquisite, the finish superb, and look what as his 5th goal involvement for Nigeria. The delivery delightful, Lacko calls for it forward, back post Osimhen, it's 2. Nigeria strike again. In and out, looks for the pass, he'll recover it as well. Back post, teed up and finished. Wide, Michael Radens, tight angle, drills it in.
Now to cricket, as the West Indies 15-man squad for the ICC T20 World Cup will be released at the end of January to coincide with the start of the 4-match series away to South Africa. Cricket West Indies has already submitted a preliminary 20-man squad to the International Cricket Council. The 20-team tournament is to be jointly hosted by India and Sri Lanka from February 7 to March 8. West Indies will open their campaign against Bangladesh in Calcutta on February 7.
I think they're buying some time to check out availability, signing contracts, and looking at the fitness of Azari Joseph, fitness of Shama Joseph, before they make any further decisions on the 15. There was a squad put on Facebook, but that was fake news. But I think we just have to wait and see when the 15 is named, so we'll get a clear picture of what they have decided to take to the 2026 World Cup.
Joseph Reds Pereira. And former West Indies all-rounder Dwayne Bravo says his Test career was cut short by the West Indies selection panel and the management staff, rather than him giving up on the longer format of the game at the age of 27. Speaking on the Beard Before Wicket podcast, Bravo added that his vision was to play more than 40 tests.
decide to give up Test cricket. They decide to give me up.
Yeah.
Actually, my assistant coach now, Otis, is the guy who was the coach at West Indies team back then when my Test career come to an abrupt end. I still remember you and his son, because I always tell him Darren Sammy is his son. I say, you and his son. And I say, but I didn't think it had anything to do with Sammy, because I think at that time, Sammy was a young captain, and the captaincy was just given to him, so he didn't have much influence or much say over what team was selected. So I always tell Gibbo it was him and the selectors back then and the board decision.
Bravo made his Test debut in 2004 at Lord's, took 86 wickets with a best of 6 for 55 against England. He scored 2,200 runs with 3 centuries. Despite the abrupt end to his Test career, the man nicknamed Champion says this was what fueled his international T20 career.
It was never my personal decision to finish Test cricket, and that's a God honest truth. I had made it very clear that I wanted to continue my Test journey, and obviously they had different plans and different ideas, and there's not much I could have done. But if it was my decision, I would have played a lot more Test matches and longer. But it was cut short, and you lose here, but I gain here. Because I think if it is, I'd continue to play more Test matches, I would not have the T20 career that I have. So, and luckily I played 40 Test matches. So there's nothing like I can say, well, I regret it. You know, I still had the opportunity to represent West Indies.
Dwayne Bravo, I'm Alric Swaby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. Tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's talk justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With the Stinger Honeybee
and Curry Boy things
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. What you said?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brainbusters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
How certain are you that you're taking proper care of your pets? How often do you take them to the vet? Just as we need annual checkups with our doctors, most pets need regular checkups too. Owning and caring for a family pet doesn't have to be a difficult or burdensome experience. Nationwide 90 FM has an exciting feature called Pets World that will help you take better care of your pets. Join Nationwide 90 FM every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning as we take you into the do's and don'ts of caring for your pets. That's Pets World every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. Happy New Year to our valued listeners or viewers. A special good evening to our friends over on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. A whole heap of things going on over the weekend. Yeah? Let's get to it. A defiant Nicolas Maduro declared himself the president of his country as he protested his capture in court on Monday. Maduro pleaded not guilty to the federal drug trafficking charges the Trump administration has used to justify removing him from power in Venezuela. Now translated by a courtroom reporter, Maduro told the court he was captured before being cut off by the judge. Asked later for his plea to the charges, he stated, "I'm innocent. I am not guilty. I'm a decent man, the president of my country." Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty on Monday. So in public opinion this evening, if you've been listening to our programs over the weekend into today, we've been having coverage as best as we possibly can on what's happening with the United States and Venezuela. So we're asking you, the members of the public, what's your reaction to the arrest of Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro? And I'll go straight to our Facebook comments where Christopher Isaacs. And I must point out that these comments are those of the members of the public and not of myself or Nationwide News. Christopher Isaacs saying, am I hearing correctly? Maduro is on trial in the U.S. for criminal charges. Okay, yes. Clifton Ricardo Russell is saying, all right, he's mentioning a lot of local politician. Okay, let me leave that one alone. Georgina is saying, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Maria says, it no concern with none at all. Manayard Baker saying, I am happy that Nicolas Maduro was captured and not killed. Yeah. Let me see. George Elliott is saying, to the extent that he is guilty of drug and firearms smuggling charges, that would impact us directly, and politicians who accepted money from him to fund the election campaign should understand that Trump is aware of this as well. Let me see. Philip Jackson is saying that, is questioning rather, is this the only way to Maduro, or was this the only way to Maduro? By blood stain of war killing innocent people, one man that could be reached by diplomatic dialogue, but instead wearing a suit of blood to enter an avenue of peace, says Philip Jackson. There were talks, I believe, a week or two ago. Philip Jackson, the U.S. president, was in dialogue with Maduro. Oddly, Philip is saying Nicolas Maduro is a dictator, just like Russian Putin, North Korea leader, and others like them. Why not go after all the others? Carlisle is saying, leave rich people life alone, meaning it no concern you, so leave it alone. Everclean Courts is saying that it is illegal. Yeah, the arrest of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro, Everclean Courts is saying it is illegal. It's all about the survival of petrodollar and to counter China. Robert Ranger is saying it's none of his business as long as Port Henderson Road active. Okay, no, I understand you, Robert Ranger. Debbie is saying bungle anofiwi, nah lose it. Okay. That bundle is not mine, says Campbell Albert. I'm not touching it with a long stick, not even with a long or a short stick, Albert. Let me see if I can get in a few more on our X platform. Patrick Stern is questioning how many innocent Venezuelans were killed in this illegal invasion and kidnapping. We were told approximately 40. I saw a news report earlier that says over 30 Cuban officers were killed. Allegedly, I saw the report, so I'm not quite sure if that's the case. Sam Mitchell says no comment. Now, comment, Panda 1 year. What's your reaction to the arrest of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro? On our Instagram platform, Natty Dread is saying, the kidnapping of President Maduro represents a serious violation of international law and a blatant disregard for the UN Charter of International Law. Such unilateral action reflects a persistent pattern of U.S. imperialism. That's according to Natty Dreddy. We're not interested in our people business, says Legal. Marshall is saying, good job, America. Willie Ryan Wilson is saying that dictator needed to go because of what he's put the people through. However, I do not agree with how it was done, and it's something the Caribbean should not take lightly. These are very interesting times. Let me see if I can get to our YouTubers. What's your reaction to what's been happening concerning Venezuela, the United States? We've seen pictures coming out of Venezuela and, well, pictures coming out of New York as well, because Maduro was brought before the court in New York earlier today. He pleaded not guilty. McHugh is saying forced capture. Merlene P., all I'm saying, bundle and of fear, leave it alone. I totally understand that. Even if I didn't understand it before, Merlene, I do understand it now. Sophia says too much loss of life. David Nebar, that's kidnapping, capture. All right, so I must point out that it's probably, abduction. Yeah, the kidnapping comes in when a ransom is involved. James Long says, or loyal opposition is rather quiet. Yeah. Howard Irving says, thought Maduro would resist. Anthony Williams says, it's all about power. Yeah, it's all about power. Marlon Wilson, Trump and Maduro, two of a kind. That's according to Marlon. Let me see if I can get in a few more on this one. Amen to that. I'm not sure if this is related to Clive Smith, but we've seen a lot of comments on social media in this regard. Greetings to you, Leroy Rutty. Happy New Year. No comment, says Carol. A lot of people don't necessarily want to comment. A lot of people don't necessarily want to comment. Isa Mario says, anyway, I would like to use my 10 years freely, so I have nothing more to say. And I think we know what that is. Trump is the man of the hour, says Terrell Thompson. Isa Maria saying that he didn't have time to resist. It was a snatch operation. He didn't see them coming. Problem in the Western Hemisphere. Listen what the outcome will be, says Cynthia Matheson. Everton Powell, I see what you're saying. David Nebar is saying it's all about the oil, and Josephine downright just don't care. Josephine says, I don't care. Lyndon Break is saying that here in Jamaica we have freedom of speech with responsibility, especially if you're a journalist pertaining to security force. I think they're doing a great work. All right, Lyndon, I hear you. Injustice to one is injustice to all. That's coming from Garfield Edwards. Bertie's questioning how the opposition is silent. Well, let me see. We've seen reports coming out of both the CARICOM. We've seen CARICOM saying that it stands ready, to assist in whatever way. We've seen many observers around the Caribbean, many heads of state expressing shock and condemnation as well. CARICOM, they issued a statement, and when our news team, we contacted both parties locally, they declined to speak on the record on the matter. So we're still awaiting word from our very own political parties. Let's see what happens. Uncertain times ahead, especially for Venezuela. We will have to wait and see. Trump has said that, quote, we will run Venezuela until such time. It's going to be interesting times ahead. It has been a very interesting thing to see, to behold, to witness. Let us see. Blessings to you, political analyst. Thank you so much. When it comes to matters of national security, the USA don't play. That's coming from Rohan. It's a wait and see, and let us see what will happen. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robeanne Williams. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ issued a net $13.1 billion in currency during the final 5 working days of December 2025, reflecting the seasonal surge in cash demand associated with the holiday period. The amount was also issued as a precautionary step following recent shocks. Between December 23 and December 31, the central bank issued $14.1 billion in notes and coins to the financial system while redeeming just $0.9 billion. This is according to data released by the BOJ on Monday. Now, the late month activity contributed to an overall increase of $21.7 billion or 7.2% in the currency stock for December compared with November. That outturn was broadly in line with the central bank's projection of 7% growth, though below the 8% expansion recorded in December 2024. At the end of December, the stock of currency in circulation stood at $322.3 billion. That represents a 12.7% increase year on year. Shares in U.S. energy companies have jumped as investors bet that the U.S. seizure of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro will open opportunities to tap the country's oil reserves. Shares in Chevron opened more than 4% higher after surging more than 7% in pre-market trading, while other firms, including ConocoPhillips and Exxon, also gained. Precious metal prices and shares in defense stocks also rose as the intervention increased investors' concerns about geopolitical risks. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 46 cents to buy $1 US, 214 Jamaican dollars and 15 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 117 Jamaican dollars and 9 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the Business Report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Good evening.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose, fittings, and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent, or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide This Morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Not a mercy.
This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
How certain are you that you're taking proper care of your pets? How often do you take them to the vet? Just as we need annual checkups with our doctors, most pets need regular checkups too. Owning and caring for a family pet doesn't have to be a difficult or burdensome experience. Nationwide 90 FM has an exciting feature called Pets World that will help you take better care of your pets. Join Nationwide 90 FM every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning as we take you into the do's and don'ts of caring for your pets. That's Pets World every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. Tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's talk justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day, editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
Cliff Says is brought to you by Educom Credit Union, providing value through service, and Hyundai, modern premium affordable vehicles.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
The E-Zone is here for you.
With the Stinger Honeybee
And Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. What you say?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come come on one of our blind dates, send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Good evening. 17 minutes going up to 7 o'clock. This is The Nation's Business, and I'm Cliff Hughes.
I'm Ricardo Brooks. Good evening, listeners. The Lawyers Christian Fellowship, LCF, is expressing grave concern about the number of fatal shootings by members of the security forces since the start of the year. It says the numbers so far in 2026 continues a disturbing pattern of such killings over the last 12 months.
In the first 5 days of the year, 11 Jamaicans have been killed by the security forces. That's 8 more than the 3 killed in the corresponding period last year. That's already a 266% increase in less than a week.
In 2025, 311 Jamaicans were killed in confrontations with the security forces. Of that number, 280 of those deaths were between January 1 and November 30. An additional 31 fatalities were recorded in December alone. Helene Coley-Nicholson heads the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, and she's saying that it's concerning that eyewitness reports are often at odds with official accounts.
In a release today, the LCF stressed that the unjust taking of life, whether by criminal elements or by agents of the state acting outside the bounds of law, is a grave moral wrong. It's therefore calling for several actions to be taken.
Indicom has reported that in the first 9 months of 2025, nearly 70 members of the security forces were brought before the courts following its investigations, but in the majority of cases investigated, no charges have been laid against the security forces. Helene Coley-Nicholson joins us now. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. The security forces have said that, look, they're operating in an environment where criminals are increasingly brazen. We are a violent country. We've had, high incidents of violence. And so when they confront these alleged gunmen, that you're going to expect that there are fatalities, not that they're just out there killing people wantonly. Do you respond to that?
I would say that, well, first of all, let me just comment on that number. There are conflicting reports about the number of persons killed in confrontations, Jamaicans killed in confrontations with the security forces since the start of the year. The numbers go up to the 6th of January. They have gone up to 15 on some reports, not just 11. Something that I've heard recently is that more than half.
Oh, and just to clarify, our numbers are from Indicom. Just say where our numbers are from.
I believe it was from the 15 was from one of the major news outlets. I remember back in the day when I was more active in the profession. I don't describe myself as a journalist any longer. But when I used to be in the newsroom, there was a point in time where I decided that I was going to keep a track on those official numbers because they had just changed the name of the official communications network for the constabulary force. And at that particular point, I said, let me hear what they're saying, because we would go on the beat and we would know what was going on the ground. And I found in my own keeping track of the numbers that there typically was a difference between the official count and what I was keeping track of. And one of the ways that we kept track at the time was that we would look at the specifics of those reports to see what had been captured in the additional data which was reported from day to day. And I would notice at the time that there were some reports that we would have been made aware of as journalists in the newsroom that were simply not captured. Maybe they would have been captured later on. I'm not certain. I would not know the workings of the constabulary communications network, but I do know that there can be differences, disparities in the official numbers. So to the question that you asked about the nature of the criminals and the high incidence of violence, one of the things that has come to light is that more than half of those police shootings are actually taking place in planned police operations.
Yes.
And so in those circumstances, one would expect that there would be lesser, not a greater number of fatal shootings. And that in and of itself has given rise to a lot of speculation, which in itself tends to undermine confidence in the agents that we really need to have confidence in, because we all agree that this is a very volatile, high crime country.
But Helene, how do you move from the fact that more than half of those fatal shootings took place in planned operations? How then do you make the connection that they should have resulted in fewer fatalities because they're planned? What I'm hearing the security forces saying consistently, especially over the last year and a half, is that they are acting on better intelligence. They know who are the violence producers, the people who are committing the murders, and they have gone after them, and they are the ones who are prepared to take them on. And they're better trained, they're better prepared, and the police, the security forces are simply winning those confrontations, and winning in the sense that the criminals are being eliminated.
Yes. Winning those confrontations. You see, how do I go and make the connection?
Mm-hmm.
I make the connection from the bits of information that are out there, and in light of questions which the police force, the constabulary force itself, does not answer, because there have been questions arising, and questions about, for example, the processing of these crime scenes, and how you handle bodies, how you handle weapons, firearms, and ammunition, and the fact that there does appear to be a two-tiered system when it comes to how the police have been handling scenes of crime, homicides where there have been fatal police shootings, as opposed to other kinds of scenes, other kinds of crimes resulting in murders, homicides, that sort of thing. So it's out there, it is discussed, and the images on social media confirm that perhaps the processing of bodies and how bodies are lifted and thrown into vehicles or weapons are handled, without the proper sort of protocols being observed, those raise questions about whether or not the scenes of crime where police shootings are a feature are being handled in a particular kind of way, because it is not consistently done with other kinds of scenes, crime scenes. Yes? Also the fact that if you have time acting on intelligence to plan how you operate in these situations, it would be expected naturally that you are able to anticipate what is going to happen in the operation.
I don't think that follows, Helene Coley-Nicholson, because you plan an operation. I don't know that you can anticipate the firepower that you're going to come upon, that you can anticipate, for example, how many persons might be in a structure, what kind of weapons they have, whether they have I don't know that you can anticipate that. How do you make that conclusion?
I make the conclusion simply because it is inherent in what you have just said, that if you have intelligence, it means that that kind of information is what you call intelligence. And so implicit in that kind of planned operation, which is intelligence-driven, you would have more time to plan, anticipate, and to execute an operation. I should tell you that the Assistant Commissioner of Indicom, he recently on the missing office spoke about the fact that in 2019, fatal shootings by the police were down to 86. And it raises, it just makes you ask the question whether it's not possible for the police to control crime, to manage the situation, to make arrests without having excessively high numbers of Jamaicans killed in the process.
Okay. Hear you on that. Let me put something else to you, because one of the things I do is I try to come outside of my bubble. I read the comments of ordinary Jamaicans, across different social media platforms, and when they react to reports of this increase in fatal shootings, and certainly across most of the platforms I've looked at, the comments usually seem to be suggesting we stand with the police, that Jamaicans are tired of living under the gun, and so they sort of, they're accepting that this, the ends justify the means. Do you worry that in coming out this way, in raising these concerns, that you may alienate Jamaicans who feel that the police are the only line of defense against gunmen who have been wreaking havoc, frankly, in this country?
Yes. I'm not worried about alienating anyone. I'm worried about the fact that when we undermine the rule of law, so that you are not able to distinguish between those who are...
But can I just challenge that premise before you continue, Helene? Because when you say undermine the rule of law, it supposes or presupposes that in the instances where these things have been investigated, in the majority of cases, the security forces have been proven to act unlawfully. And that's just not the case.
No, I wasn't saying that. In fact, we have...
No, but when you say you undermine the rule of law, who is undermining the rule of law?
I'm saying if there is an undermining of the rule of law, it is a very, very serious thing, because we are going towards anarchy. We're going towards lawlessness. And in a context where there is lawlessness, then it is the powerful, those who have the weapons and the ammunition, they're the ones whose rules govern, and the rest of us cower in fear. And it really doesn't matter if the person who has the weapon, who is able to exert the force, is wearing a uniform or not.
Right, and I think I agree with that. But before we
But I'm not suggesting that our police, and that every instance that is reported is an instance in which there has been an extrajudicial killing. I'm only saying that there are more questions for the police to answer, to engage with the questions that have been coming out of Indicom, for example. It must make every Jamaican very uncomfortable to know that today is the 5th of January, and already up to 15 Jamaicans have been killed in these confrontations with our police force. Yes, we want to feel safe, but can we really feel safe with that kind of...
But Helene, implicit in that question is the assumption that these are unlawful killings. If you ask the question, if we can may I just finish the question? May I just finish the question? When you say, if we can really feel safe with 11 fatal shootings, and I agree with you, it is an increase over the same period last year, and the raw number does shock the conscience. But I think it matters whether this was justified. In other words, did the police use force that was necessary to repel a threat that they faced? And if they did use force that was necessary to meet that threat, how can you then question or ask us to question whether we should feel safe?
Oh, but I'm not asking you the question.
No, but you did. You did.
No. I'm saying that it is established. There are questions that the police need to answer and which they routinely do not answer. There have been celebrations about the reduction in murders, but at the same time, when it comes to the police shootings, incidents of police shootings, the questions that have arisen have been ignored. I will not say totally ignored, because I'm really trying to use very temperate language. I thought it was important at this juncture and this early in the year to put out a statement that would cause people to think and engage in what is really a very uncomfortable conversation we wanted to register a very strong concern and to indicate just how uncomfortable we are, and to ask well-thinking citizens to join with agencies like INCOM to ask the Jamaica Constabulary Force to answer the questions which keep repeating, but have not yet elicited any kind of explanation. Why it was, for example, in 2019, that in a similar context, Jamaica has been violent from before that we were able to record 86 fatal shootings. The numbers that you're seeing this year are similar to the numbers in 2010 when we had the Tivoli Gardens incursion. 2010 was a very unusual year. What explains what has happened in the last couple of years with police shootings? We need to have the conversation without being judge, jury, and executioner of the constabulary force. We are
not using very temperate language here at all, Helene.
Oh no.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
No, I'm saying we do not want to be the judge, jury, and executioner of the constabulary force. Please hear what I'm saying. We do not want to do that because we want the men and women of the constabulary force who go out there every day and risk their lives on the front line while we can go to our bed and sleep at night in some communities. Because in a lot of inner city communities and elsewhere, that is not the case. And they have difficulty distinguishing between the lawful and the unlawful operatives. But tonight when I go to my bed, I think I'm going to be fairly comfortable. And I know that there are men and women out there who are protecting me. But at the same time, I think we're doing them a disservice when we do not shine a spotlight to look at the culture that exists in the constabulary force, which could possibly be supporting the silence that is meted out when questions, reasonable questions are asked that could be answered and should be answered in order to save more lives. Not just to celebrate a reduction in the number of murders committed in Jamaica, but also a reduction in the number of police killings. I think we could achieve that, but we have to have the conversation.
Thank you so much, Helene Coley-Nicholson. She leads the Lawyers Christian Fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Helene.
Good.
I just wanted to make a point because we spoke to Professor Anthony Clayton, who, as you know, he has studied these things. Spoke to him on Friday during Nationwide at 5, and I put a question to him. I said, shouldn't we be alarmed by this? Yeah. And he actually said that if you compare Jamaica, and I think he used United States. Yeah, I was trying to find the clip just to play it. It's not unusual. It's not out of step. And he said he's fairly certain that because the police have gotten better at intelligence gathering and they know exactly who they're going after, he said it was very likely. Yeah, this is the man who has studied the data. He studied these matters. And he said it would be very likely that these people are extremely violent people, and that they will not come easily. But let me just say this. I am not at all saying that these numbers do not shock civilized people. I said it to you when I looked at who was writing the story. 11 in 5 days. Enough that.
Just like how in years gone by, not so far ago, 1,600 people, 1,400
would
people
also shock civilized
murdered,
people. Absolutely.
Would shock us.
Yeah.
And it seems as if we can't believe it that, listen, the police are better at what they're supposed to be doing. And they're getting the intelligence. And if they get the intelligence and that intelligence is right, then it means it is the best armed criminal they're going to be having to confront. And those criminals do not hesitate to fire and to use their weaponry against them. And when they do, they're going to die because our security forces are more competent.
Yeah. Wayne Chen said if he had a member of the security forces as a child and he was sending out there to confront these criminals and he had to make a choice between the criminal and the police, he chose the police. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of reactions on Twitter and on YouTube. A lot of people disagreeing with Helene there. Yeah, we're up on the break though. Soon come.
On October 28, 2025, Hurricane Melissa devastated Jamaica. But your government is mobilizing, reaching every community, delivering relief, and rebuilding together. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
3 minutes after 7.
This Christmas, choose life. As we recover from Hurricane Melissa's devastation, we're reminded that life is fragile. Pedestrians, stay alert. Drivers, slow down. Rest if you're tired, and never drink and drive. One careless decision can change a family forever. Let's have a safe and prayerful Christmas and a crash-free 2026.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Four minutes after 7 o'clock. Well, a Jamaica-born, New York-based educator, Kamar Samuels, was recently appointed Chancellor of the New York public school system by the mayor, the newly elected mayor, Zoran Mamdani. This Jamaican, Samuels, at the helm of the largest public school system in the United States of America. Samuels, in the job as Chancellor of the New York public school system, will now oversee a system serving more than 1 million students, and he will be in charge of a budget in excess of $40 billion.
Big deal business.
Yep.
He has more than 20 years experience in New York City's public education system, spanning classroom teaching, school leadership, and district level administration, with a strong focus on data-driven decision-making and improving outcomes in urban schools. Samuels attended Jamaica College in St. Andrew before migrating to the United States, where he earned an accounting degree from Baruch College, City University of New York.
He later completed a master's in education in childhood education at Lehman College. His appointment has been welcomed within the Jamaican and Caribbean diaspora as a significant achievement for Jamaican-born leadership in global public education. Good evening, Mr. Samuels, and congratulations.
Good evening. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm super excited to be on with you. Thank you for having me.
And Kamar, you went to JC. We won't hold it against you. You did well despite going to JC.
I knew that was coming, you know. But my father-in-law is a Calabar man. He tells me that all the time, so I get it.
Well, I didn't go to Red Hills Road. I went to Mountain View Avenue. Yeah? But tell me, you started out with a degree in accounting. Was it that you were a practicing accountant before you went into education?
Yeah, somewhat. What happened was, you know, I was good in math, and my mom said, every day I look in the newspaper, there's always a job for an accountant, and so she said, you should go be an accountant. So she was paying for me to go to college out of her pocket, and I figured I had to do something. So I studied accounting, and after that I worked for an advertising agency, and I also worked for the National Basketball Association as their finance manager for a little bit.
So tell me, what made the shift to education? What triggered that?
It's a great question. The first thing was a couple of inflection points. I think the first thing was that I started tutoring students with disabilities when I was in college, and I just felt very inspired by their aha moments when I would see them get a concept in math or something like that. And then I didn't like accounting at all. Actually hated it. So I started thinking about what to do with the rest of my life. And one day I was on the train heading home from school, and there was a sign on the train. It was an ad at the time, and it said, "You remember your first grade teacher's name. Who will remember yours?" And it was an ad for folks who were in jobs like mine that wanted to go into teaching. And so I went home, and usually a notorious procrastinator, and that night I just applied, submitted my application, and in another couple of months I was in the classroom.
Wow. And this is such a significant job because the New York public school system is such a diverse system. How are you planning to approach this job?
Interesting. I think the number one thing, as in Jamaica, as in anywhere in the world, when it comes to education, the most important thing you have to do is to teach a child to read. And I don't care if it was in 1619 or today. I think our students need to be able to read well. They need to learn to read between grades kindergarten and 2, and then they should be reading to learn in grades 3 and beyond. And that is how you give kids access to quality life. When the mayor talks about affordability, we really need to make sure that our students are graduating schools at high levels and able to perform in a career or in college. And so my goal is to ensure that our literacy rates are really significantly improved over the next 4 years.
We tell our children that representation matters. What message do you think it sends that an immigrant now heads the public school system in New York?
Yeah, I think it sends a great message, not just for me as an immigrant, but also our mayor is an immigrant as well. And when we think about so many of the stories in New York City where we had an influx of migrants, often very vulnerable, we have to make sure that we have schools that are set up to ensure that all of our kids succeed. I do think that representation matters. I remember how life-changing the election of Barack Obama was for me. I was a principal at that time, and I used to joke with my teachers that when I think I'm overwhelmed, at least I get to look at Obama because I'm sure he's more overwhelmed than I was. And so a representation absolutely does matter.
Yeah.
And how did Mayor Mambani landed with Kamar Samuels as his chancellor for public schools? Did you know him before?
Yeah, I'm tempted to say you probably should ask him, but no, I did not know him. I've met him for the first time when I interviewed, actually. And, there were several candidates. Many of them have had greater experience than I have had. Some of them had actually done the job before and wanted to do it again. And so what I thought was important was that I was able to clarify my strengths, clarify my approach to the way I had done things across 2 different districts in the city, and I really outlined a plan for schools to be safe, for schools to be rigorous, and for schools to be truly integrated, which means that we are actually capitalizing on what New York has to offer, which is a completely diverse city, and oftentimes we don't have the schools are not as diverse as our city is. And I outlined a plan to do that, which I think was aligned to a lot of his thinking. And also, I really believe that the number one thing, or a very important thing, maybe it's not a number one thing that could make our city affordable, is if we had a high quality school in every neighborhood. So many families move out of New York City not only because it's expensive, but because they can't find from their perspective, a really good school for their child. And so they moved to the suburbs looking for that, and I want to make sure that we create high-quality schools in every neighborhood so families stay in New York City.
Kamar, Jamaica's education system is undergoing transformation, the implementation of a transformation report. And I'm wondering, how much of who you became do you credit to your time at Jamaica College?
When it comes to leadership, and when it comes to, well, first of all, even before JC, I credit everything that I am to the family that I come from. I come from two families that are huge. I come from my grandparents lived in Middle Quarter, St. Elizabeth, as well as in Whitehall. My maternal grandparents had my maternal grandmom had 10 kids. My paternal grandmother had 14 kids.
Wow, big family.
And what they believed is that they believe in two things, both sides, education and the Bible. And all of my aunts and uncles went on to achieve different things in schools. And so even before I got to JC, I had a huge sense of expectation that came from the families that I came from. And at JC, I learned so much about leadership from not just what was taking place in the classroom, but what was taking place outside of the classroom. We really held each other accountable. It allowed you to figure out who should be your friends and who are the people you were trying to really emulate, who are your role models. And so I find that so much of what I credit with the teachers that I had at JC, Miss Joseph, Miss Grant Barrett, other people that have had a huge impact on my life.
Who are your parents?
My mom is Dorian Samuels. You know, she actually got an article written about her, and I was very surprised that happened. But it was a great article. And my dad is Leroy Samuels. He's deceased.
And Samuels is a big family, well known in Jamaica. A lot of Samuels around, yeah. And you now become one of the stars of the family, yeah.
Well, they might tell you right now I'm the biggest star of the family, but there are a lot of stars in my family, and I credit everything I am with the families that I'm from.
Where did you go to primary school?
I went to a wonderful primary school called Hope Valley Experimental.
Very good primary school.
It is, yes. We had a great crop of teachers there, Miss Barton and others, and we had a lot of the professors' kids or the nurses' kids or the policemen's kids would go to. Was a great place for learning. It was also a wonderful place where I learned the integration of people, of students with physical disabilities, and how we have to make sure that we create inclusive environments for people with disabilities. And I had a lot of really good fun memories there, and it was a school with high expectations. The principal didn't take any mess, as they say, and our teachers didn't either. They had high expectations for us, but we always knew we were loved and cared for.
And you left Jamaica for the U.S. in what year?
1993, right after Reform.
Oh, okay. And when you went to New York, as you said, accounting beckoned, or you were pushed in that area. This never crossed your mind that one day you'd be atop the New York public school system? This is a huge job.
Yeah, I mean it is. I would say that it. Yeah, you're right. It did not cross my mind. Certainly not at that time. I was as surprised as everybody else when my name appeared in the New York Times over the summer. I think it was August 8th, as one of the candidates, and that really changed a lot of the conversation. So no, it's a great responsibility. It's heavy, and it should be. You know, we have about 1 million students in our that we're responsible for. We have 113,000 employees, a budget of $40 billion, and you know the folks who pay taxes should expect that we have schools that we can all be proud of, and so that's what I try to get up to do each and every day.
Kamar Samuels, the new chancellor of the New York public school system. Yeah, he's at the helm of the largest public school system in the United States, managing a budget of $40 billion, 1 million students. Congratulations and all the best.
I must ask you though, Mr. Samuels, how old are you?
Okay. Yeah.
How old are you, sir?
I just turned 48, and you know, interestingly enough, I'll say that for all Jamaicans, I was in Jamaica for Christmas, and I really had a great time traveling to St. Elizabeth and seeing the level of recovery that's happened since the hurricane, since Melissa. And the way and the spirit of the people that I came across in St. Elizabeth, I just have to say, really warmed my heart. I was very, very excited by it. And then I also think just the outpouring of support from Jamaicans here and Jamaicans in Jamaica since my appointment has really warmed my heart as well. And so I want to say thank you to everyone who sent a message and messages on Twitter. And you should know we do have on the team here other Jamaicans. The head of communication, my head of communications is Jamaican. My director of government affairs is Jamaican. So Jamaicans are well represented in the New York City public school system.
And is a career in politics in the offing?
Look, I like politics. I like to watch it as a sport. I don't necessarily think I am interested in participating.
Oh, okay. All right.
I see the YouTubers telling me that your mom is in the YouTube chat. I'm trying to...
Really?
That's what YouTubers are telling me. But anyhow, congratulations, Kamar.
All right.
And all the best.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me. Yes. And I love the program and keep up all the good work you do.
No, all right.
Good, and all the best.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Good.
Jacqueline Thomas asking if Mr. Samuels is married. Why Jacqueline not behave herself?
She always look somebody.
No, but this is fantastic, and the Jamaican flag.
It's amazing.
Flies high. Yeah. Oh yes, Dorian Samuels. Yes, I am. That's his mom.
Oh. Yes, he did say Dorian Samuels. Was his mom.
Well, congratulations, mommy.
Cool.
Nice.
Proud of your big boy, Dorian.
Yeah, she said yes. Congratulations.
Yes. Dorian must be a nationwide listener.
Here you know.
A clear piece of her.
It's 21 minutes after 7. We're going to take your calls now. 630-9371-4, 618-6730. Come tell us what's on your mind.
Taboo topics.
Things after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Public opinion.
Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are a Jamaican.
Different people.
It's not a matter of a JLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
The show is Nationwide at 5. We're taking your calls now. My name is Ricardo Brooks. He's Cliff Hughes. And Alric is on the line.
Good evening, Cliff. Good evening, Ricardo.
Good evening, Alric.
How was your birthday, big man?
Very well, very well. Couldn't have asked a better one.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Some people are trying to get me engaged to calling your name, but
call the man Father Jamaica.
What do you think of that?
Call the man Father Jamaica. The man older than Jamaica.
Ooh.
You're older than Jamaica.
That's not true.
Jamaica born 1962.
No.
Independent Jamaica be attack. Me not talk about colonial Jamaica. Independent Jamaica born 1962. You're months older than Jamaica. You did run up and down when Jamaica born.
No.
Yes. Run up and down.
No,
You did that stadium when they raised the flag?
No. I was a baby. I was No, sir. I was only 8 months old.
Oh boy.
I listened to Mr. Cillian, Colin Nicholson and you guys, and I was amazed at her line of reasoning. But I am hoping that everybody who was listening to her took this from what she said. I took it that when she goes home at night, she sleeps comfortable because she knows that the security forces are out there putting their lives on the line to protect her. But it all depends on where you live, Mr. Hughes and Ricardo.
Yes, privilege protects some of us. Yes.
Privilege protection. Elaine Court, Mrs. Nicholson from Mile Gully in Manchester. So she's from out in the country where a few years ago all the bars around there had to be locking up early. Right up to Midstone and right through that area because there was rampant robbing and stealing and shooting of people. And all while that was happening, the era that she was born and grown, the privileged era that she lived in, I have a feeling that not even one person was shot at, much less killed. And so I think, I don't know where they're reasoning from because what the police are saying, what Mr. Hughes is saying, and what I spoke to you about last week when I took out, The police are getting better information. They are better equipped. They know the violence producers. So they know exactly where to go to look for them. And these people who are spotted and known as the violent producers, firing the big guns, so what do they expect to happen? I am not saying they should kill willy-nilly, but I'm saying if they fire at you, you will make sure you are the one that comes out alive.
Yeah, and that is why, you know, I'm hopeful that this year will accelerate things like the body-worn cameras, so that the debates can be put to rest, that we can have the evidence to see what happens during these confrontations. But like you, I think a lot of Jamaicans are just at the point where they're saying to hell with the criminals. To hell with the criminals, because we are tired of living the way that we have. As I said to you guys when I was hosting Cliff Hughes Online on Friday, at 37, I just thought it was a given that for the rest of my life, more than 1,000 people would be murdered in Jamaica.
Every year.
I just thought that was how life was. That is just what it is. I really did.
Ricardo, you know, for the last year or so, I have been going out now and then to play my game of dominoes and have a beer and try to drop a 6 love. And 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't dare think of going out after 7 o'clock.
Yeah. You definitely feel more safe in Jamaica. Yeah, you definitely feel it. Yeah, and you get a sense that, listen, we're no longer waking up to the morning news saying 5 people, 6 people, 4 people were killed in a whatever incident last evening. Yes, you're not getting that. And if you have your ears to the ground, you know how many people are telling me when I go out in Jamaica that nobody know why you call them Don anymore? Nobody know why you call them Don.
You put a mark on them back.
Exactly. Yeah?
Have a good evening, guys. I hope Mrs. Scully, you know, take a good look and what she said, because as Ricardo said, she lives in the privileged area, man. She has to think about us, the poor people down here, man, and what we are clapping our hands for right now. We feel safer in this country. And if the guys fire at the police, my word to the police, make sure you're not the one that died.
All right, Ulrich. Good.
Carl, good evening. Carl?
Yeah, evening, Ricardo.
Good evening.
Evening, Mark. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Carl.
You have to put a mask by your name now, because I say you go up in your 90s now.
You know, you must tell lie upon me. Stop telling lie upon me, yeah? Yeah? Stop tell lies on me.
Anyhow, Ricardo, a lady that you interviewed this evening.
Helen Coley Nicholson.
You should have asked her if you have anybody who died in the 90s.
You don't need to personalize it like that.
Alright, here is why me say you should have asked her, Ricardo. If in the 90s, when you go and made a rest and cut 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, like young people, them gone too soon.
Yes.
And you never hear she cried at the time they say, nothing will happen that is wrong. We are out of our election, Miss Nicholson. Go back to your resting room.
Why must you always think people's motives are political, Carl?
Go back to our resting room.
No, Carl.
Yes, Ricardo.
Reasonable people can ask questions without you saying that them are comrade.
Yes, Ricardo. That's a reasonable person like you and Matthews.
No, other reasonable Jamaicans.
And couple other people reasonable there road. Ricardo, how could you be coming down from almost 1,700 murder? And when you listen to some journalists talking rubbish now, when you listen to this lady this evening, she says somehow we are celebrate about the crime we go down. I don't know if she understand what happened in Jamaica this last year. But she understand what happened. She coming down from almost 1,700. Today are 673. And she come attack such stupidness this evening. And when you look in a newspaper yesterday, you see cartoon, them are all kind of rubbish. What is this lady saying?
I hear your call.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes,
I
sir.
have relative who get gunshot just that they claim to say that the wrong place at the wrong time in the 90s now. So I felt it and I know. And Mr. Hughes, I tax jar from my business that I do to pay the police, not to pay a gunman to fire at the police. And the police must always be first, Miss Nicholson. And what you see a lot of Ricardo. Let me say something to you again, Ricardo. You see how that the one that did come out in before, must about a year and a half before election, and talk say $3 trillion business for the government. And when she said she win election, she could have come out and confess. Blessed night, all the best.
Boy, Carl, you can't trace, you know.
I getting I echo. Yeah, all right. Bugs, I sent you something. If you can just put it up for me. A front page of the Jamaica Gleaner, Wednesday, December 13, 2017. While Bugs pulled it up, I'm going to read from an editorial that the Gleaner wrote on February 8, 2018. And it's titled, "In State of Anarchy, Police Force Can't Be Transformed by Insider." In relevant part, it says, Jamaica's police force, after the 9th month and eminently forgettable stint of George Coelho as its commissioner, remains at a similar crossroads. The consensus is universal, almost that it is corrupt, inefficient and incompetent, and mostly uses paramilitary jackbooted methods that are unsuited for a 21st century environment. Moreover, the JCF is institutionally resistant to change. A large part of the JCF's problem is that for most of the last half-century, its leadership cadre has risen through its ranks, having imbibed a culture that stresses loyalty to the squad rather than higher institutional ideals. So the leadership core, even if not corrupt themselves, find it difficult, if not impossible, to extricate themselves from the squaddy mentality to impose transformational discipline on the institution. That's how the Jamaica Gleaner described the constabulary force.
And that was the dominant thinking at the time.
Yes. But if we are honest with ourselves,
yes,
the force that we have now, does this description still apply?
No.
No,
it doesn't. It no longer
there
applies. Yeah? And what they have demonstrated is that ability that we thought they didn't have. Yeah? To really look themselves in the eyes under leadership that has been very transformative. Yeah? And they have been able to recruit and to make the organic changes from within to the point where they are now enjoying tremendous success.
Yeah.
Yeah? You know, there's a story about, and I wonder if I should say it, a story about the appointment of Dr. Blake. Yes?
Kevin Blake.
Kevin Blake.
Yeah.
Because there were some people who were thought to be ahead of him. Yes?
Yes.
Ahead of him.
Yes.
For a number of reasons. Experience, et al. Yeah? And the members of the Police Services Commission.
People said he was a nerd.
Yes.
Yes, I recall hearing that.
Yeah,
at the
he was a
time.
nerd.
Yes.
Yeah? And it was felt that he wasn't in the front of the queue.
Right.
And we must give credit to the Police Service Commission members. Yeah, people who are really not on the front line. You don't know them. You don't hear of them. They went for Kevin Blake. And I want this evening to say to them, job well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Because he has built on what was started by his predecessors. Yeah, in particular, the now ambassador to Washington, Major General Anthony Anderson.
Yes.
And we're now reaping the rewards, and I suspect what was less than fewer than 700 in 25, we may get fewer still in 2026. Knock wood, yes.
Bugs, put up that front page for me. If you're on YouTube, this was the front page of the Gleaner on December, what's the date again there?
2017.
December 13, 2017. Murder, 9,937 killed between 2010 and Sunday, December 10, 2017. Says, in a state of anarchy. And there's a quote, things can't continue like this if Jamaicans hope to live in a civilized society, and the government doesn't intend to compete for its legitimacy with criminal warlords. Instituting a turnaround will be difficult, but with the appropriate effort and some help can be done.
Yeah.
And then it has the years. In 2010, 1,428 killed. In 2011, 1,125. In 2012, 1,099. In 2013, 1,201. 2014, 1,005. 2015, 1,207. 2016, 1,351. And 2017, 1,521. The Gleaner at the time described that as a state of anarchy, and its editorial warned that the government was now at risk of its legitimacy being lost to what it described as warlords, criminal warlords.
8 years later,
I have to say it because, Cliff, I think sometimes, it's frustrating to me, in public conversations in this country, it seems that people, they forget, or they just willingly or willfully decide, we're not going to talk about that.
Willfully.
It must be willful.
Yeah.
Because people at the time were terrified.
Yes.
I think it was 2018 when the Prime Minister finally declared a state of emergency in St. James, I think was the first parish, when he started the rolling SOEs. I think it had gone up to something like 300 people being killed in that parish alone.
Yep.
So I want us to remember.
And has that paper been fulsome and upfront and forthright in recognizing the gains we have made in these intervening 8 years where murders are concerned?
I read an editorial the other day. I think it was, I don't know, it was Sunday, maybe last week. Grudgingly, I think. And certainly not a mention of what this administration did to turn it around. There was an editorial, it might have been last week or Sunday gone. I think it was last week. Yes.
Yeah. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, and so I want people to remember. I'm not saying the situation is perfect.
Far from it.
But the
it's
Gleaner,
a massive improvement.
in a state of anarchy. That's what it described. But 8 years ago, that's how we were living. And that the very government was at risk of losing legitimacy to criminal warlords.
It was so bad, that crime was not only the lead story every day, but whenever governments would change or there would be cabinet shuffles, nobody wanted national security.
Political graveyard.
It was the political graveyard
where your
for
career
careers.
goes to die.
Yes. Nobody wanted that job. Yeah? Everybody avoided it like the plague because you're going to end up in failure. Yeah? Dr. Horace Anthony Chang has turned it around. Yeah?
Yeah. William.
Good afternoon, Cliff. Good afternoon, Ricardo.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what Miss Nicholson was trying to defend. What you were saying, Mr. Brooks?
Well, I understood her to be saying that the numbers are too high and we must live under the rule of law, and so people should ask questions and get those questions answered by the JCF. That's my understanding.
So those people, what the police ain't got at? They live by the law?
Oh, do you mean the those who are taking on the state?
Right.
No, they would live outside of the law.
So my question, if the officer go for this person quietly and they come under fire, what the officer supposed to do? Drop the weapon and run left them? That is what she's saying? If you do turn this little country in a state like Haiti?
No, I didn't hear her say that.
No, she not what I'm asking because if it's what you mean. Because how me look on it, if the officer go for you quietly and you surrender, I don't see why they should shoot. But if you decide to take them on, you don't expect them again to tally it back, you don't expect them to defend themselves?
Certainly.
Yeah. And which is why I keep saying, the cameras will go somewhere in assisting us in getting the right side of the story, yeah? Because now, as Helene said, a lot of the accounts are contested by residents.
Yeah. And it's one of my concerns. I don't know if you remember that she also is a victim of criminal. So when I listen to her, I wonder if it's the same person.
What do you mean?
Huh?
What do you mean?
Because she was attacked by criminals already.
Oh?
No, I don't know about that.
Well, until you get to her, ask her.
We'd have to make things personal, William.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we'd have to make things personal.
No, not really personal, but how she come across to us out there, it causes us to really wonder what is our plan, what she's thinking, what she's saying.
No, she told you. She's in defense of the rule of law.
What is the message she's sending to us as decent citizens compared to criminals?
But she tell you, William, she says she's standing in defense of the rule of law.
So the officer know what? Go for this criminal and then decide to take on the officer. The officer not supposed to operate and defend themselves by the law? I don't really understand her at all. I don't really understand her. She need to come better than this.
All right,
we
William.
the decent citizens with strong and listen nationwide and listen to also other people.
All right, William, hear you. Del, good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Miss
evening,
Del.
Ricardo. How are you doing, friend?
I am all right. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
Hello, Mr. Hughes. How are you?
I am good, Miss Del. How are you?
Not bad at all. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. You had a good Christmas?
Yes, man. Excellent.
She put on big cooking. She called me a Christmas Eve.
Oh?
Put on big cooking, yes.
Yes, man. Big cooking. Go on with you. Ricardo.
Yes.
Do you remember when Christmas Eve we asked you tell you about the lights?
Yes. It come back?
The JPS.
It come back?
Then come in a bungle. Then come in a bungle, Ricardo. Me tell Nora the early evening.
Yes.
After she hear it out, I tell you later on. Same evening. Then come in a bungle and come from east, north, west, and south.
Yes, because we did pass it on to them and tell them, say,
Yes.
it not going to look good for to spend Christmas in the darkness.
Truck, van. What?
I am happy to hear that, Del.
I can't believe.
I am happy to hear that.
Yes, man. Me glad and me thank you very much and thank Miss Nora.
No problem.
Yes,
Where in the country are you again, Miss Del?
In Manchester South.
Manchester South.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, sir. And according to that lady this evening, I'm not agreeing either. Any child these gunmen them put on their weapon, the police them can easy themselves. But as long as they decide to fire and the police will kill people, the police have to defend themselves. Because they don't have nobody else to defend them, but them have to defend themselves. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, one problem, put pest to rest.
Yes.
Put pest to rest, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. We take care of yourself and love you.
All right,
Miss Del.
Carlene on YouTube is asking a question which I think is important. Is it that we don't trust Indicom? Yeah. 'Cause, you know, Fitz Jackson released a statement and he said he was calling for an independent probe. And I said to myself,
Indicom is independent.
Yeah, is it? What did he mean outside of Indicom?
Yeah.
Because that would be routine, for Indicom to have a probe.
Investigate.
Yeah. So, 630-937-124-618-6730. Cleveland, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ricardo.
Good evening.
Happy New Year, sir.
And to you, my friend.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For 2026. And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Mr. Hughes.
Long time, Cleveland. I haven't heard you.
Long time.
You still live in Jamaica?
Still live in Jamaica.
Oh, yes. I thought you were British.
No. No.
Oh, okay.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir.
How old are you now? 60 or much?
64 years old.
Oh, you're doing well.
Thank you.
Well. You have a good way to catch me.
Me can't catch you, Cleveland. Can't catch you.
Yes, sir. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for what you have done for 2025.
Yes, sir.
Educated us a whole lot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure you will continue to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And wish you all the best, sir.
You know, Cleveland, despite my 64 years, I don't feel a day older than when I turned 40.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that.
And I won't say anything more. Certain people looking at me.
You can't go and throw your one. Just go and throw your one. I'm in a rich 40 yet, but go and throw your one.
And let me congratulate the police. Trust me, they have done well.
Yes.
And I know they're going to continue to do even better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to support them the best we can.
Well, I tell you though, Cleveland, I'm almost afraid to hope for it, but boy, it would have been nice. It would be nice.
Yes.
It really would.
Yes. Time for the gunman put down them gun and help build up this country.
Right.
You know? We need that.
You know, Cleveland, I remember it was 23/22 when the murders declined for the first time in several years by only 8%.
Oh, yes.
And then the following year, 24/23 by 19%.
Yeah.
And I did an interview with the former Chief of Defense Staff and former Commissioner, Rear Admiral Hadley Lewin.
Yes.
And he said to me, we were discussing the decline in murders, and he said to me, Cliff, let us wait to see whether there's a trend or this is just a flash in the pan. Yeah? Let us wait. And now I live to see 25/24.
Yes.
42%.
Yes.
No, this is more than a flash. This is now a trend.
Yes, it is.
After 3 consecutive years of increasing declines, it is a trend. Yeah?
I just want to say condolence to my friend Oliver. I feel it for him. Because I'm sure Oliver looking for his son Donald to bury him. And not the other way around.
Oh, Donald Oliver, yes.
Yes.
We lost Donald Oliver over the holidays.
Yes.
And we also lost my mentor. Yes, my mentor and teacher, Alma Makien.
Yes.
You know?
Boy, I feel it for Oliver. We worked with the post office, over the years.
Ah.
Yes. And we always do a lot of talking with one another,
Yes.
Call one another and talk and so on. And I know Oliver, and I know, as he says, he was looking for him to bury Oliver. And boy, I know that one they really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I wish him all the best.
And Donald Oliver was clearly one of the best.
Yes.
Young journalists coming up, sports commentators.
Full of excitement.
And when he tells a story, there are some of us who are gifted at telling stories effortlessly.
Yes.
Donald Oliver was one of those.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Really sorry for my friend, but anyhow, that's how life is, Oliver.
Yes.
Take it easy, my brother.
Yep. You never know when it's your time.
Yeah. Then one last thing. What a way the weather just take on Jamaica, so sir. What go on?
Maybe in the rain?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, me have to tell him, I don't mind the rain, you know.
Too much of it, sir.
Yeah. Up on West Rural, it a go on?
Yes, them only the rain fall this evening, eh?
Oh.
Yes, only the rain fall.
You don't get much done up on the flat.
Yeah, we got some early in the afternoon.
Yeah, but not heavy.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Only the rain fall.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Me not mind it, you know,
I don't
Cleveland,
mind it
so long
either.
as we, you know,
much
flood out
ice,
the
Right.
place.
Too much ice, too much ice, too much traffic.
No, man, my plants and my grass need it.
Well, you know, we have to think of the people who do have
Yes,
a proper shelter.
absolutely. Yes,
That is
absolutely.
so true.
Absolutely.
That about them, how they making out. Anyhow, do not take care.
All right,
All
Cleveland.
right, Cleveland.
Can I take one more? Winston, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yes, so I must say that I also like what the police is doing in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, whenever I drive through Spanish Town,
Yes.
I live in the Spanish Town area. Whenever I drive through Spanish Town, I tend to lose hope in the country, particularly because of the garbage that I'm seeing daily.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder how the mayor, Norman Scott. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a mayor of a city or a town that is so dirty. And I mean, I've listened to interview with Audley Gordon. I think his name is
NSWMA.
NSWMA, and I think sometimes you gentlemen are a bit easy on the interview with him, because you know, I think more can be done in the country in terms of garbage collection. One of the other things I want to mention is that the taxi associations, they need to speak to their members about littering, or you know, because I realize that, well, I would say that 95% of the vehicles that I drive behind and see people throwing garbage through the window are from these taxis and minibuses and so on, right? And they need to you know, have a word with. I'm sure that they're on WhatsApp group and so on. So you know, Edgerton Newman and all those persons who are leaders of the association, they need to speak to their members and think. I want to feel like when I go to US, I feel like I'm in a place of order. And in Jamaica, I don't feel that way. I drive through the Prime Minister's constituents, and when I see that there's a road down there where it is always full of fridge. I don't know why so much fridge is always on that street.
Which street? Which one is that?
Is a street. I don't know the name of the street. But whenever I drive through that area, there's a particular street that is always, let me say, littered with fridge. Apparently they have a repair shop there.
Okay.
And there's a lot of fridge there. So that is one other thing. I mean, I should be, if I park my truck in my residential community, I should wake up the next morning with a ticket. I should say a ticket on the truck for me to go and pay some fee or something. Right? Because I'm sure we have laws about parking these heavy-duty trucks in residential here and so on. There are some simple things that I would want the police to look into, because I want to live in an area where if I'm there, I mean, we talk about shootings and killings and so on, but we don't have to always be shooting and killing people. I think that people must feel that there's order in the area that we live or the area that we go, and that we must be mindful, and that we will, you know, not do certain things. You know?
I think that's fair, and one of the things I always find interesting is that when Jamaicans go overseas, they comply. Yeah, they comply and they follow the rules. But here in Jamaica, They just ignore
don't do
it.
it.
Yeah, but I agree
the
with
park
you.
Anywhere, the litter, they do anything at all. We don't feel like there's any order. It's like everybody just doing whatever they want to do. Just litter them, just do everything.
You know what I think part of the problem is, my friend? Whenever I see any kind of enforcement action by the state, one of the first things you hear, you try to fight out poor people. That's also part of the problem, you know. So the politicians ought to just allow it. Yeah? But you're right. We need public order. You're absolutely right.
And let me finally say that Andrew has another, let's say, 3 to 4 years to make some big moves to transform this country so that the middle and the upper class can buy into it and probably go to the polls the next election. Make some big moves, some moves that the other politicians would not take to transform this country. Some of these things has to do with, some anti-litter laws.
Yes.
Some of it has to do with, where you park and so on at night. Because if you park your heavy-duty vehicle that is leaking oil on the road, you rest assured that you're going to wake up and see a ticket on it, or you might see the vehicle gone to the pound or something. He needs to make some bold moves.
All right,
so that he can get the buy-in of the nation within the next 4 years.
Have to leave it there, my brother. So, strong laws and strong enforcement. Agreed with you. Thank you.
Yes, that's how we're going to leave it for this evening. Want to say thanks to all of our callers, our contributors, our YouTubers, our WhatsAppers, of course, our producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.